Let's go into pro YouTube commentator mode. All right. Is everybody ready? Let's get it done. All right, we have two of the best players in the world. This is from IEM Katowice with hundreds of thousands of dollars in prizes. One of the top protosses if I could speak, and the top terran. What is this? I don't know what the camera is doing. What? This is a great start. Okay, there we go. I fixed it. sOs and Maru in a best of 5. I didn't actually watch this series live. This is from the IEM replay pack. I'll provide a link, and you can watch all the games. I hear a lot of it was great. I was busy most of the week, so it's a bit of a treat that I get to watch it for the first time, and I get to commentate with the replays as well. But we're going to be looking a little bit further into why these players are doing what they're doing, as opposed to just what they are doing. And it's a best of 5, which means up to 5 matches here. You should be able to see a wide variety of builds, especially with players like Maru and sOs, who are, for their respective races, two of the most, I guess, YOLO players is one way to put it. Just wild cards in general. If you can't really pin down a style for these two players. Maru has a tendency, like, if he feels like it, if he wants to get to the next round of GSL, he'll do double proxy racks 2 games in a row. sOs will proxy gate in your main. Or he'll go, like, triple Nexus before really having any units. Something ridiculous. You don't know. So, I'm looking forward to what these players break out. And we've already got a little bit of something special. This is a classic sOs move right now. With the pylon probe. Getting the probe in there to be incredibly annoying early on. Just delaying. He's going to delay the command center here. He delayed a little bit of mining on these SCVs. Almost delayed the barracks. And behind it, making a Zealot immediately. If he's able to dodge out the Reaper with the Zealot, this is just kind of sOs's... Did Maru see this? And of course, he goes out with the probe, slips in behind the vision of Maru. And the Reaper... Oh my god, the next level scouting... But he came in a little bit early. The Reaper can come back, but he forces the SCV off the line, delays a little bit longer, gets a scout. There are not going to be any units behind. There's a reactor on the way, so while the probe dies, here's the Zealot. He's going to dodge out the Reaper. The Reaper thinks, okay, I've dealt with the harass. He has not seen the Zealot. There was no SCV scout. And he's going to continue to pressure Maru's command center. At the same time, the Reaper's going to be intercepted by a Stalker, as the command center itself has to be canceled. So sOs has already thrown a massive wrench, multiple wrenches, an entire toolbox into Maru's game plan. And this is classic sOs moves right here. From the probe to the Zealot to the Stalker, everything has gone wrong to start for Maru. He has to restart his command center. He's lost some SCVs. He's building a bunker. And behind this, sOs is already expanding. I'm going to turn the music up a little bit. Oh, and the sound. Why is it so quiet? All right, we got to get in the game. There you go. Oh my god. Okay, that's more like it. If it gets too crazy, I'll turn it down. But just using those shields, they'll start regenerating in just a few moments. A couple SCVs go down, and sOs takes command. We have a Twilight Council coming up in the main. And behind that, oh, you guys can't. My sellout subscribers are in the way. Let me move that down. You should be able to see the workers killed a little bit easier then. Sorry about that. But Blink is the obvious choice. Blink is, if you've gotten some momentum, if you know your opponent is limited on units, and in this case, Maru is very limited on units, because he had to remake his expansion in the main. He's only working off the 1-1-1. So with the Blink, he's going to be able to keep what few units Maru has contained in a very cost-efficient way. The Blink is such a great choice here. It's an obvious one, yes. Maru probably expects it, but at the same time, even if he expects it, what's he going to do about it? Does he try to sneak out a medevac, a Liberator, anything like that? Because if his first starport unit gets caught, that could transition into pretty much the game. It's that thin of a line for Maru. He's not down and out. There's definitely an edge for sOs, but it's not a huge lead right now. Going to take the second base. And Maru will reestablish. He's down a lot of workers. There has to be something of a timing here for Maru, especially since sOs has taken that third. Yeah, a Zealot is coming in. This is more of a scouting Zealot than designed to do any damage. It will actually see a medevac on the way. He doesn't know what's in the medevac. He knows there's something. It could be Widow Mines, could even be Hellions. I don't know if he expects the Cyclones, but if he doesn't commit enough units to deal with the medevac, then the Cyclones could be dangerous. But Blink is done. And there's a bunch of Stalkers on the map. These Marines are dead. But at the same time, Maru coming into the main with the double Cyclone drop. Will this force a recall out of SOS is the question. He's going straight for the Cyber Core. He knows the Stalkers are on the other side of the map. I'm surprised he's going for the Cyber Core itself instead of the pylon. But will he be able to get it from the low ground? It looks like that's a yes. The Stalkers are outrange, but at the same time, they're in the main. There's nothing for defense. The tank desperately trying to get out, but the Stalkers are already in the front door. He's going to have a tank, but he already blinks into the main. The tank is gonna be targeted down before any of this. He decides to use an interference matrix. I don't know about that choice. He's driven back. The bunker will complete, but SCVs are falling left and right. The Cyclone's at the natural, but is that enough to really do the damage he needs? The bunker desperately trying to hold on. There's no additional tank on the way. The Cyclones will be targeted down. 10 SCVs have fallen thus far, and the Cyclones look like they will be the next casualties. The Blink Stalker is just incredibly cost-effective. Even a recall coming out here. SOS knows the damage has been done. He recalls to the third, intercepts the medevac, strikes it down. And SOS comes out of that exchange with a resounding lead. 45 to 26 workers.
Confirmed.
Thank you, Maru.
Automatically relaying. Thanks.
And right now, what is there for Maru? He just started Stim. He has no upgrades, no real tech. Tanks on the way. A lot. Several more gates. Gonna jumpstart that. Well, just bolster that production to deadly levels. Even SOS looking... Oh, there's no vision here. I can jump in. It does seem like Maru has that kind of realization. But there's really no obligation for SOS to attack. He can continue making probes. He's up by 20 workers. He's up a base. He's about to have double upgrades and an impressive amount of gates. Right now, Maru just, from the very start, this is classic SOS moves. Just always catching your opponent off guard. Really just stopping their game plan before it can even start. And throughout this game, it's been exactly that. It's been SOS just shutting down everything Maru tried to do and taking advantage of every little edge. A few pickoffs here. This is just some distractions, really. Losing a Stalker or two, I mean, not a big deal. Is there a Stalker? Is that on the ledge? I don't know, but it's dead now. At the same time, the charge lot's moving into the front. A Guardian Shield will make them even more effective here. An anti-armor missile connects on everything. This isn't a great angle for these units to attack in, but the tanks will fall. SOS continues to compound his lead. The force field not going to help things for Maru. And it's going from bad to worse. Will we be able to get a repair on the command center? The SCV is trying to get in position. There is one more force field. Oh god, if the CC dies. Yeah, he's not going to be able to finish it off for now, but... 93 to 63 supply. Maru holds... But it's gonna take a miracle, and right now, I don't think Maru has the tools to make a miracle happen. He has a handful of units. He doesn't have combat shields. It just started. Some Widow Mines connecting could be helpful. He doesn't have great upgrades. He only has a single medevac. There's no real threat of drops. No liberators to try to catch him out of position. I just don't see an out here, really, for Maru. It's 54 to 33 workers. SOS. We should see a Templar Archives in a moment. Notice he didn't actually go for the gases here at the natural. He's gotten them now at the third. They just started mining a bit ago. They start with 2250. So really focusing on getting that infrastructure, getting those gateways up, and getting a lot of charge lots. And that just shut down any potential for Maru to actually push out. If there are just 24 charge lots outside your base, well, guess what? You're effectively under house arrest. Maru's going to need to catch all of these units out. An anti-armor missile will make this a little bit of a closer fight, but SOS's army, he's coming in. The Widow Mines get caught out. There's an anti-armor missile, but there's no army left for Maru. GG, taps out. Game number 1 going to go to SOS. And really, that all went to. I'm just gonna skip back. This is what we can do here, since these games, of course, already happened. But it's not about the games being live. It's about appreciating the plays here. But from the very start, SOS with that probe, so incredibly annoying. And honestly, I'm trying to think, like, what could Maru do better? Because this build, it's designed to throw off your 1-Rax expand. If Maru doesn't scout with an SCV, which Maru doesn't really do very often, then your command center is, at the very least, heavily delayed, if not canceled. I guess making a bunker at the front, but that's a big commitment. And now, another thing that happened is the probe came in, and this right here was a big scout. Maru immediately goes for a reactor behind, which means SOS sees there's no unit production. All he needs to do is get close to that command center, and he can pretty much force a cancel. So, seeing the reactor up here, it doesn't matter that the probe dies. This is more than enough information for SOS. He gets up there, sees the factory. It's not a multi-barracks play. This is a huge amount of information for SOS. Not only, one, does he know his early units that he's invested in can get damage done, but two, he knows that following
confirmed.
with Blink Stalkers
Automatically relaying.
is going to be
Thanks.
effective, because Blink Stalkers are great against the 1-1-1 because they shut down no amounts of units. The only thing Blink Stalkers are really weak against are strong bio pushes, because the Stalkers picking off a Marine or a Marauder is not nearly as big a deal as picking off like a Cyclone or a Liberator. So, seeing this, SOS already has his game plan mapped out for 4 or 5 minutes, where Maru's is about to be thrown sideways off the table, essentially. So, SOS, this probe, I'm not going to say won the game, but this probe made all of SOS's choices possible, and they made them the most effective plays. So, Hero Probe. Probius comes in and gets all the information and leads SOS to, well, where he needs to go. All right, let's go into game number 2. That's a good question. Should the factory be built farther back to avoid scouting from outside the wall? I mean, in a perfect world, yes, but ideally, the probe was never going to get in. SOS made this little move where he abused the vision, and the probe actually got in. That shouldn't have happened. Maru was explicitly trying to stop that, but SOS, with the next level plays, actually slipped it inside the natural. So Maru didn't expect that to get scouted, but it did, and that's a huge advantage. Now, maybe he should have brought it back at the wall, who knows, but SOS already making the plays beforehand, and goes up 1-0 in a best of 5. Well, let's get into game 2. You guys know who these guys are. So, where does the first pylon go? Are you going on the low ground again? Now, this is a little bit of a split. What? Wait, okay. Did he do this last game? He's scouting at the beginning. This is no longer scouting. He's just going at the beginning of the game. Like, right at the start. Even before the first pylon. I'm not sure if he did that last game. He may have. But, SOS, just right off the bat, this is a pretty significant portion of his mining. So, this probe has to get some damage done, and damage can be in the form of delaying a barracks, of delaying mining time. And it's quite annoying for a Terran player to deal with. Like, if a probe starts actually forcing you to pull multiple SCVs like this, and that was pretty smooth there, out of Maru, then it can really affect you. Like, it can really throw you off. I speak from direct experience. Like, if you're forced to completely pull off the line and deal with this annoying probe at the 1 minute mark, then you can start forgetting things, and it'll throw you off for later into the game. Now, I'm not saying Maru is one of those players who has that problem, but it's definitely a possibility as well. A gate expand. Another probe coming in this time. This time, Maru decides to SCV scout. So if SOS was going for the Zealot, this probe would scout it. And of course, seeing the Nexus at this time kind of gives away there's not a Zealot. These players have timings mapped out to within the second, because last game, the Nexus was delayed. He had to make a Zealot. The Zealot paid off, but it delayed the Nexus. So just seeing this Nexus might be enough for Maru. He sees it, He's going to go in the main, get a beat on the second gas, the pylon placements, and this time not going for a Reaper. That's another reason to scout, of course. SOS's probe. Does he have confirmation? He has confirmation on the command center. I'm not sure if he saw the Marine. But no Reaper means that a quicker factory is on the way. And this time, Maru not putting it near the wall, not risking it gets scouted out. So interesting there. Maybe learning from the mistakes of last game. So Maru going to start unmolested. The probe not really getting that much done, and there's no follow-up Zealot Stalker action. SOS, on the other hand, is opting for a Twilight Council. And he's continuing to make adepts, so I'm not 100% sure this is for blank. What is the choice? More gateways here out of SOS. He's already got the probes scouted out, those 16 probes for optimum mineral mining. I'm looking more at SOS because he's the biggest wild card. Dark Shrine. Of course, it wouldn't be an SOS series without at least one Dark Shrine. And no Robo. So, not a DT drop. This is just straight DTs up in your face. That's partially why I think he kept the probe out on the map. Looks like he's intending on getting a pylon as close as possible, trying to dodge out any scouting here. He'll want to make the pylon finishing as the Dark Shrine finishes, ideally, to minimize the amount of time it could be potentially scouted. The Robo is the follow-up, but a Warp Prism is not in the cards here. It has to be a proxy. So it all comes down to, does Maru follow up with a Raven? Does he have scans? There's no engineering bay because he's opting once again for the double clone drop. And with the double clone, you're no longer afraid of Stargate because your clones can push away, your Marines and clones can push away Oracles. So investing in the engineering bay early isn't that common. Now, against DTs, obviously you want turrets, you want detection, you want something to stop them. DT is not a common choice, is the simple version. The probe comes up, Maru sees it. Oh my god! Right here? Come on. Come on, SOS. Alright. Now, what is Maru thinking when this happens? I'm not sure. Oh, but he sees the pylon. The DT trying to warp in. Maru gonna shut it down. Beautifully done. Now there's no DTs. He saw the DT warping in. He might not have seen it in the sense of detection, but immediately starting an engineering bay. We've got a tech lab on the starport. Maru shuts it all down before it starts. Great start here for Maru. One DT makes its way across the map. Will he catch it? Well, well, the DT kind of gives away its presence there. I'm not sure he needed to do that. I'm not sure that was the best call, but Maru does use a scan, cut it down. The SCV's here. Another DT comes out. He pre-scans it, takes it out.
Subscription confirmed.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thanks.
Free dirty sports money.
Another drop out the front. Another scan. Maru pushing in hard right now, giving no quarter to SOS, whose DTs have been shut down. That's the downside of DTs. They're a huge investment. Oh, the scan runs out a split second too early, and that will force a retreat for now. Where are the scans at? He's still a lot of seconds off having any scans. He'll be driven back. If he was able to take out that DT, we could be looking at an entirely different game, where Maru's actually killing probes here. But one Dark Templar does change the equation. That pylon on the low ground, he's well, the Immortal has something to say about that. The Cyclone out of range, down goes the pylon, charge, and these gateways for a few seconds at least. The DT on the other side. Not sure why I did that, but very close there. A Warp Prism in the main. This should be scouted out. Maru not reacting to it, but SOS realizing he's given away the position a little bit much. A DT being scouted out and taken. So SOS is now, I think we can solidly say, behind. Because what's happened is he invested in the Dark Templar. That's a dramatic investment. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of minerals. It takes a lot of gas. And everything else, like the DTs are not necessarily to get damage done. They're for map control. If you get the Dark Templar, that limits the options your opponent has. Especially if the DTs get in and start doing even a little bit of damage. But the DTs did nothing early on. His proxy pylons got shut down, so that investment did not get a strong return. Which means while Maru was shutting it down, he was adding on infrastructure. He's going up to 5 racks here. He's got +1. Is it done? +1 is done. He's starting +1 armor. He's got stim combat shields, medevacs, a Raven. He's got all the tools for a strong attack, and SOS has to catch up. He's not going to have any splash damage. He doesn't really have many immortals. Thank you, Angel of Death.
Relaying, thanks.
Good luck. Thank you. But right now, Maru in a very comfortable position. SOS is out on the map. This is pretty optimistic.
Thanks.
How many gateways are we looking at? He's got 7. So, but the power of Maru's army is just too much. You can't deal with this. Very simply, like you can't fight him on the open field. 1 or 2 interference matrices, or maybe an anti-armor missile, and that army just gets mowed down by Maru's. He's spoiling for a fight. Does SOS recall out? He can force field and retreat. He wants to take the fight. What does the Raven do? SOS is down by 20 supply. This is still an awkward angle with those force fields. The Guardian Shield helping out a lot. SOS either needs to go forward or recall out. Now is the time for choice. He's running out of options here. He can't fight into the anti-armor missile. He actually is able to dodge out a lot of that, but another anti-armor missile hits everything across the board. He's forced into the fight. It's too late to recall. Maru standing his ground with 4 medevacs above. SOS actually allowed to retreat for now, but Maru is on the chase. Combat shields has completed. +1 armor is closing in. The Raven will be pulled back so as not to get picked off. He recalls out, but so many of these units going to go down as well. Several of the Stalkers, the anti-armor missile helping out, and Maru is striking back hard. There's no splash damage. There aren't better upgrades. He lost most of his sentries, most of his immortals. Liberators are on the way now, and that's a great situation for Maru to be in. Blink is not done. There is no splash damage. This could be a game-ending push in and of itself. The Widow Mines will be baited out there, but there's not much else to deal with this. An interference matrix, throwing an immortal out of the fight. He's trying to fight into this. There are still a few Widow Mines at the back. The medevac starting to run low on energy. The +1 armor is completed on this army. Targets down 1 immortal. A couple more Widow Mines gonna connect. We'll take out a couple more in the way of Zealots. There's a drop at what? What is happening here? There's 1 immortal, 1 DT, and a Warp Prism. Quite the hodgepodge set of units. But at the same time, Maru's army is pushing forward. There are plenty of Widow Mines to hold this ground. A really weird and surprisingly effective counterattack out of SOS, but he does not have the army to hold it home. There's nothing to kill these Liberators. I'm not counting sentries as Liberator killers. They'll be blasted away. The Widow Mine's going to connect on the probes, doing more damage to the Liberators than the sentries ever could hope to do. But Maru got his lead out of shutting down those Dark Templar, and he is sprinting with it now. All the way across the map, shut down SOS's attempt at I guess, a pressure attack. And it's 102 to 41 supply. Maru has evened the score in this best of 5. GG. SOS taps out. If your DTs get shut down that hard, it's difficult. Maru's not going to let you have any space. That's just how it is.
Confirmed. Automatically relaying. Thanks.
The tears
Close
of,
to 2 years, and still wondering how you get your hair
I
so
bottled the
fabulous.
tears of salty Terrans, especially North American Terrans, and that's really has a nice shine to it. But that's game 2. We're going to game 3. But you can't just go DTs and have your DTs do nothing. That's a huge investment. And if they don't even force out a scan early and you proxied 2 pylons, then any sort of medevac timing is going to be deadly. And as we saw there, a medevac timing was deadly. All right, game 3.
Resubscription confirmed. Automatically relaying. Thanks.
It's always about the dirty.
Can I get an angry coach with my prime sub at a later time, or do I need to give you more WNTR dirty money for that?
All right, Maru and SOS, game number 3.
Automatically relaying. Thanks.
You know, she does my job for me. I don't know what I'm worrying about. Thank you, guys.
Resubscription confirmed.
So, Eastwatch. SOS not going for the probe right off the bat, instead going off the pylon, but he is walling the low ground. Eastwatch is possibly the largest map in the map pool. It's a bit uncomfortable for a Terran player because the sheer distance you have to go from your base to your opponent's means that usually the distance is about 2 warp-ins worth. That's how long it takes. So even if you have an advantage and you win a fight on your side of the map, it's pretty difficult to translate that into damage on the other side of the map. So a lot of Terrans not huge fans of playing this in TVP. We'll see if SOS abuses that, but just abuses that sheer amount of time because, of course, with warp prisms, the travel distance doesn't matter, right? Whereas with Terran, unless you're proxying, the travel distance does play a large part. So we'll have to see SOS with a little bit of the probe harass. Neither player proxying anything early on. It looks like, once again, it's going to be a gate expand. We do have a Zealot on the way, I want to point out. So I take it back. Not a gate expand, but a pressure gate expand, like we saw in game number 1. Against a 1-Rax expand with a Reaper out of Maru. Also, like we saw in game number 1, and when he's going for a Reaper, it does seem like Maru doesn't feel obligated to go for the SCV scout, which once again could come back to bite him. The probe is still in the main. A Reaper will kill it here, which does free it up to go across the... Is he really... He's just trying to buy time with that probe in the corner. The Reaper coming back to finish off the probe. It actually went to the side for a second. The probe did its best and bought plenty of time. The Zealot on the other side. Thank you for me, the welcome back. The Reaper looking for any proxies and looking for almost exactly this. There's a Stalker on the way as well. The question is, the command center is nearing completion. The travel distance coming back, like SOS now is the one struggling with the travel distance because this command center is nearly completed. The Zealot is here. He wants to delay it. Can Maru? RNGs is not quite enough. One more SCV coming down. All he needs to do is throw the last screws into it. He's trying to body block. He finishes the job. The Reaper's on the other side. Are there any more? Another Stalker is coming out. There's nothing to contest this Reaper. He can get free probe kills, whereas the supply depot on the other side taking big damage. Maru forced to micro. Let's go to the Maru action cam to see how he handles this. Targeting down probes. He's just waiting to see if a Stalker comes out here, but a couple probe kills are sure to come out. He loses a supply depot, which does hurt for a moment, but he's already rebuilt a supply depot in the back of his main. Microing the Cyclone as well, able to get the Reaper out, 2 probe kills, forces the Stalker back home, finishes his orbital, but there are 2 Stalkers in the front, targeting down the Stalkers. 2 go down, and Maru holds on both fronts. Definitely doing a lot better than game number 1. Doesn't get supply blocked while handling this. He gave up the supply depot to get damage done and make sure he had the defenses. So a solid hold out of Maru here. He does lose a few SCVs, but he was able to get a couple probe kills in return. Also, did he get a scout on the Twilight? I believe he did. He saw it. I don't know if he clicked on it. I assume Maru, playing at 380, make that 90 APM, probably was on top of that. I'll give him the credit for it. SOS playing like a slow, lazy protoss at only 235 APM. So, what a scrub. Winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, I believe over 500,000 now. Alright, the Reaper's still alive. The Cyclone push is coming in, and this is a bit of a vulnerable scenario here. The shield battery not done yet. Another pylon coming behind it. The Reaper trying to get into the main. There is a big warping coming in. Blinking, not quite done yet. Shield battery is the casualty. Oh, the dodges. The dodges! He can technically dodge all these Stalker shots, but the Cyclones go down. Maru with some uncharacteristic miss micro. Blink is done in a split second. That could be the end of this medevac. 1 second. Almost there. Does he get it? No, the medevac escapes. He tries to blink to the side, but he's not going to get the catch on it. There is a probe here. I'm not sure why. He's proxying another pylon for Dark Templar. Unfortunately, there's already his what? Ah! Of all the places. More Stalkers on the way. Wait, did he finish the Dark Shrine? He has a Dark Shrine done. The Stalkers are being warped in. That's not where the medevac wants to be. He needs every unit for defense. Even with the siege tank, that's a lot of Stalkers coming up here. He can target down the medevac. He's going to use the auto turret as well. The tank goes down almost immediately. The Stalker's going deep in the paint right now. A single Marauder is able to come out. He's trying to save it. He doesn't get the pickup in time. There are no units to defend outside of a handful of Marines. A lot of damage is being done. 2 DTs are being warped in slowly up the pylon. He can blink out of the main here. Those handful of Marines desperately trying to defend alongside the boys. But the DTs are coming up, and there is nothing to save his Nat right now. A siege tank in the main doing its best. The DTs are actually coming into the fight. He wants them to fight alongside these Stalkers. That could make the difference. Right now, SOS is boxed in the front. More SCVs going down at the Nat. DTs are going to add to the total. Looks like the main base has been defended. Ring around the add-ons is continuing as Maru desperately trying to get his production up. DTs in the main base. 18 SCVs, the casualties so far. SCVs being transferred into the sides of more Dark Templar. And the current count, 48 to 28 workers, but the supply is not too far off, giving Maru an army supply lead. He's down, but he's not out. He still has the Raven. Stim is finishing, +1 is finishing, 2 more medevacs on the way. Maru has counterattack potential. SOS did good, possibly critical damage. Maru bleeds, but he's not dead yet. There has to be, he has to go soon. There is no choice. SOS knows this, Maru knows this. I'm surprised that SOS is taking down these rocks unless he plans on taking them down again. The Raven being repaired. Everything being repaired. Will he see it? He knows there's a pylon. Did he see it before? Doesn't matter. He sees it now. But Maru, he can't sit back. Does he know about the third? He can assume. Because SOS isn't keeping up pressure. The army supply in favor of Maru. He's got a lot of production. He's getting combat shields. Everything's coming together. He's building Widow Mines. He's moving out. Looks like he's taking out the second round of rocks as well, making sure he can't be caught between a rock and a hard place at his third. So, I mean, it's still +1. There are no upgrades for SOS's army. If an anti-armor missile lands, the amount of damage, that negative armor is a thing. If a unit is brought below 0 armor to negative armor, and the anti-armor missile removes 3 armor, these Marines and Marauders do insane damage. If the anti-armor missile lands on 0 armor charge lots and Stalkers and Dark Templar, they will be shredded. The anti-armor missile for a time was called the Shredder missile, and I thought that was more appropriate. There's a DT in the main. Maru, I want to go to the Maru cam again, because he has to handle 2 places at once, but he's so good at it. All right. Scanning in the main, dealing with the DTs at the net. The attack, though, he has to deal with this army. What does he choose to do? He's boxed in. Oh, he goes over to the side. Does he try to land an anti-armor missile? He's on top of everything. Let's go ahead. See SOS moving back. He'll recall. He recalls to the main. Maru caught between 2 armies here. But who is really the one trapped? Anti-armor missile comes out, hits a lot of this. But unfortunately, Maru gets caught in an awkward situation. The Stalkers can blink down. The charge lots are trapped, though. Maru trying to hold on, doing as much damage as he can. The Stalkers blink down. I don't know if that's quite enough Stalkers to do the damage he's looking for. Maru has to get back up inside the medevacs. He will escape for now, but unfortunately, he was caught out. 7 probes go down. 49 to 33 in the worker count, but the income heavily here to SOS. Notice that gas mining. Maru's still in a tough spot, and that supply gap is starting to widen. As the upgrades catch up, as SOS gets towards that +1 attack, the anti-armor missile didn't really change that fight because Maru not quite able to take it. 1 DT going down there still. The hope for Maru here is the lack of splash damage and upgrades. There's medevacs. There's a Raven. There are Widow Mines. There are tools. There are possibilities here for Maru. It's still an uphill battle, despite the fact there's very little high ground on this map. But Maru has the cost effectiveness. He has potential. He's still in a tough spot. Another DT in the mineral line, making it harder and harder and harder. But here comes Maru. The boys are pulled! The boys are pulled, and there's no splash damage to deal with them very easily. An anti-armor missile comes through, connects on everything. The SCVs are taking the damage. Maru stutter steps back desperately. The SCVs taking the charges. The medevacs are boosted in order to be able to heal as much as possible and reposition. Another round of charge lots comes in. The Raven does not have another missile. The Widow Mines are going to connect on another round of charge lots. Maru pushing through the front. The boys, did they do enough as Maru has desperately pushed through? An interference matrix, the Immortal knockdown. SOS has been shredded. The boys held the line. And he pushes through the front. Maru, it looks as if he has done it. SOS committed too long to the DTs once again. He never got the splash damage, the storm, the colossi, the upgrades. And Maru with the boys to tank the charges, the anti-armor to shred any sort of defenses, the medevacs to heal above. This looks like a victory for the micro Terran guy. The Immortals pushing through, well, getting pushed back rather. And I mean, I knew he had the tools. I haven't seen these games before. I honestly didn't think Maru would do it. I thought it would be close, but I thought SOS would hold on. Can we look at how that anti-armor missile changed that fight? Again, let's take a look. I just want to look at the fight again and just try to look at the details. But let's look at the unit. The army supply, 81 to 70. So SOS is up on army supply. I'm going to slow it down here. The boys are off the line. He's still mining with these, but he pulled the boys from the main because he knew DTs were a threat. So there are 22 charge lots, 2 immortals. There's only 1 sentry as well. So that means no real guardian shield. And 4 medevacs. I'm actually going to look at the Maru cam. And we're going to, in slower motion, see what he does. Anti-armor missile connects. He control-clicks the SCVs to move them back. Is stutter-stepping a lot of this back. Trying to get out of Widow Mine range. He boosted the medevacs beforehand. He had the Widow Mine selected separately. He boosted the medevacs so that way when he stutter-stepped back, they would get back to healing even quicker. Just full stutter-step here. Does not retarget the Widow Mines, just lets him hit. Brings the Raven in for another round. He's still adding on production there throughout. He's like, oh god, my main base. But yeah, I mean, that's how you take that fight. Now, SOS at the same time, I think SOS, I think he had room for temp, like, in the early game when he was able to keep Maru back. And now this is the mistake, this is the choice SOS makes that I think does give people the opportunity to take games off him. He's really he can be really brute force. I mean, he can be really micro-intensive, but when he goes for brute force, like a ton of charge lots, he goes for it. There was no Templar archives. There was no Robo Bay. There weren't that many immortals, so he just 100% went for charge lots. And charge lots are like the one unit that Terran can actually efficiently micro against. So, in not going for that splash damage to follow up, he would have had a lower unit count, but if there's 3 or 4 storms, there's no way Maru pushes through here. It's just not happening, so. Maru goes up 2-1.
Resubscription confirmed. Automatically relaying thanks.
And that's going to be
reporting for duty.
Going to game 4 on Neon Violet Square. And I mean, you guys know the play.
Resubscription confirmed.
Thank you.
Automatically relaying thanks.
I don't know.
Do you
what Flash
think
is
Rogue will pass Flashy in StarCraft Twinnings this year?
We'll see. Rogue seems to really pull it out when it counts. SOS. Okay. Well, we're jumping in. SOS sending out 2 probes. So, well, I mean, this is he's got 2 gases behind this. So this isn't some proxy gate play. Is he actually going to proxy behind? Is this a proxy Stargate behind his base? Oh God. Yeah, this should be a proxy Stargate behind his base. This should. I mean, if Maru doesn't scout this, the game just kind of ends. That's how it works. Like, it just kind of is over. So the probe trying to be as annoying as possible. He sent a second probe. This has to be a Stargate. Like, I mean, I guess you could make an argument for a Robo, but yeah, it's a Stargate, and Maru has no idea. Like, he did an SCV scout. He's building. Well, he built a Reaper, but he has a tendency to leave the Reaper near the base. Oh, the SCV scout is coming out. It will see no expansion, and that's all he needs to see apparently. He doesn't want to die to the Stalker, but unfortunately for him. Oh God, there's already a shield. Are you scouting? Tell me you're scouting. Tell me you're scouting, SCV. Oh no. He didn't scout up. He didn't see there's no tech. Can that... Oh my... It is as close as you... If Maru just happened to bring an SCV over here, he'd see this shield battery. Like... Oh my. The probe goes down. The Reaper is scouting. Oh, that's... Let's go to the Maru cam. I would love to have seen Maru's face at this time. I want to know what Maru's face looked like at this exact moment when he has nothing. He has nothing to deal with this. There's going to be a Void Ray out. There's already a Stalker here. He saves an SCV with a bunker. He's going to have 4 Marines, but that's 3 shield batteries. If he can just kill that SCV, he'll delay the bunker some more. He can actually probably kill all these Marines. Oh my. I would love to have seen Maru's face. But, I mean, a Cyclone's on the way. If he can get enough Marines, he has an expansion, but this one unscouted. This is one of those you kind of just need to see. Especially this map, because you could get it... Oh, God. I mean... There's already 4 shield batteries coming up. He's pretty screwed. Well... This is a gotcha build, and I believe right now... He's almost certainly got him. The shield batteries, the SCV, like, a 1 lock-on, desperate G. No, he's out of there. Well, SOS will tie up the series 2-2. It's a good build. It's a good build. It's hard not to be like, oh, you dirty, dirty, dirty Protoss boy. But, well, it's a good build. SOS sending out a probe. Will we skip? Well, we'll of course go off this probe.
Resubscription.
Thank you, thank you.
Automatically relaying. Thanks.
I love this dramatic music, though. We're going into Game 5. The winner of this moves on to, I believe, the quarterfinals or the semifinals. One of those two in IEM Katowice, the biggest tournament outside of BlizzCon. Probe coming in. Gonna take a look. A little bit of dual action happening here. And this is backwater. I mean, the one thing between this players that changes every game is going to be the map. Backwater is quite a defensive map. Not so much in this matchup, but you have access to 3 bases, whereas on the ground, you can defend them with 1 choke point, which is pretty much what makes for an extra defensive map. Of course, as Terran and Protoss, you have a lot of options to circumvent ground-based choke points, and there's no ramp here, which means you can maybe do an attack on it. But it does make it a little bit harder to just do a direct attack like you would do on some other maps, like, say, Catalyst. Maru hasn't shown any interest in doing any sort of bio-based attacks, really, in the early game. He's been going with the 1-1-1. It looks like that will hold true once again. An SCV scout will come in. Now, interestingly, this game, Maru has gone all out. He's scouted with an SCV and made a Reaper, which is the first time he's done that. If he hasn't made a Reaper, he's gone with the SCV scout. Well, I take it back. Last game, he actually did that too. But this time, he scouted even... Oh, he recalls out his early probe. It is taken out. Oh, my God. Of course he does. But he recalls out the early probe. Doesn't quite get it in time, but trying to be a little bit cheeky. But Maru definitely respecting SOS and his potential for, let's just say, less than orthodox builds. And once again,
confirmed.
we have a less
Automatically relaying.
than orthodox builds. Thank you.
Doesn't feel like 5 months. Been enjoying every minute.
As we have a Stargate before Warp Gate option. I'm not sure if Maru noticed that. But the Reaper going to get in, and Maru just going to go all the way up towards the main. He is running the danger that there is a wall in this corner. There isn't, but he's running that danger. Looks like he's going to see the Stargate as well. Is this time for an engineering bay, or is he just going to say, all right, you've got a Stargate. You got to build defensive units. Oh. He lets the Adept in. Still micro on the other side. The Adept can technically micro against this. Marines outrange it slightly. One SCV taken down. Going to continue to work on him. A lot of micro on either side. The Adept will shade away. It should be taken out by the Marines. A couple were softened up, which does make it a little bit more potent if he chooses for an Oracle. Does he just not make? Okay, he makes an Oracle, but this has been scouted out by Maru, who should be able to respond to it without any real damage. More gates on the way. Now, important to note, those gates are before a 3rd base. A 3rd base might be the choice of some players, especially considering the map. Just get your Stargate, get some map control, force the Terran to play defensive, and get a really quick 3rd. But SOS really opting for a little bit more production early on. Maybe he's scared of a counterattack. Maybe he's just more comfortable. We'll see. Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. He wants to put on the pressure. There's another... We've had proxy pylons in most of these matches so far. One way or another. And a proxy pylon is going to be gracing the field. Finishing just in time for these gates. Adding on another gate as well. So 4 gates. And with no Twilight. There's no real follow-up here. Like, this is what he's doing. He's adding on. There's going to be a stasis ward that's shut down before it starts. This proxy pylon has not been scouted out. It's in such a weird location. There are 2 oracles, but there's a little bit too much on the ground here. The Adepts will shade away. Now, the question for SOS will be to warp in at this pylon, or just hold off and make sure you have the defenses at home. So, Maru going to take a 3rd base of his own. He doesn't realize that SOS is going for such a sheer unit heavy. Another brute force style out of SOS here. And this is a gamble. Because if Maru just either gets damage done or scouts this out, he can pull back and have plenty of units to deal with this. An SCV will eat the stasis ward. This pylon being targeted down. Is there a chrono boost for the Oracle? Does he need it? Oh my god. Oh my... 37 out of 30... How is... Anyways. At literally the last second, the Oracle shut down, but the units being beat back here by a surprisingly large unit count out of SOS. He's got oracles in the main. There's no turrets here. Maru coming down to the net. Now suddenly we're in what is somewhat of a base trade scenario, as there just aren't enough units to really easily deal with Maru's drop, but he's losing SCVs left, right, and center. The Viking will eventually kill all these oracles, but they're getting a lot of damage done. The bunker will complete, but there's no units to put inside it. One of the Cyclones will fall. The Viking not on the deck yet. He finishes the bunker, but once again, there are no Marines to deal with it. The drop going to be shut down after killing 14 in the way of probes, but SCVs falling all over the place, including the main, including the net. He's going for a third. The worker count, 31 to 22, 56 to 45 supply. The Oracle will be shot down by a lock-on at the last second. 25 SCVs is the total. Maru adding on some production. Some of it has been halted by the damage here. The casualty counts. Now, here's the thing. Maru still has his infrastructure. He's going for a third base. He's not that far down in SCVs, and he's going to have... Well, has he started stim? There is no stim. The only thing he does really have is that 111 tech. So, SOS, he doesn't have a Twilight Council. He doesn't have a Robo. He lost a lot of probes. So his tech isn't great right now, despite the fact he killed a ton of SCVs. But Maru, still in the third base is huge. Having 3 orbitals, let's just look at the income. Maru ahead on minerals, even on gas. So he is definitely not behind by any measure, but supply. 2 Vikings looking for some Viking on the ground harass. A Cyclone drop going to come in. See that the third base is not done. That's going to make Maru feel very comfortable with this situation. I think at this point, if you're Maru, you just work up, get the upgrades, start that stim. Maru, what are you doing? Get your stim. He's working on the Cyclone drop on the other side, trying to bait out some more units. But SOS is now caught in this weird situation where he doesn't have blink or charge or upgrades. All he has are sheer protoss units, and gateway units are just not that good. Vikings shot down as they stray a little bit too far forward. There's the stim, there's the +1. Maru making sure he's not vulnerable to any more harassment damage. He's starting to realize he may have even seen the Twilight Council. Yeah, he sees the Twilight. He knows it's going to be more gateway units one way or another. This is happening. This is a thing that's happening. Vikings 2-shot probes with that plus mechanical. But Maru in quite a comfortable situation right now with a full 3 racks production. He's actually going for the double clone. Not for the Widow Mines, but the double clone. I guess he has a little bit of a bank of gas he can use. But the worker count, 50 SCVs from Maru, 42 probes for SOS. So, SOS needed to do more damage. He did a lot of damage, but he needed to do more. And now you can see by the supply count. More gates on the way, but Maru has quite a... Oh, he's going to see that timing. Yeah, moves out immediately. It's like, oh, you don't even have your gates yet? I just have too many units. This could be, and probably... I say it could be a deadly push. He can siege up outside the wall and just break down the wall from range, and there's no way for those units to move out. Charge is halfway done. SOS desperately chrono boosting it out. Maru will see it's not done yet. He can just jump on this, even without stim. There is an anti-armor missile banked up, and with the Cyclones, the damage is going to be insane here. He just melts the army. Maru about double supply. GG, WP. Maru going to move on 3-2. SOS was able to get those games where he definitely threw Maru off early. But any game, honestly, any game that went past the 5-minute mark without Maru taking big damage was pretty convincing for him. So, I honestly, even though it was 3-2, I wouldn't say the series was that close. Every game was pretty solidly one way or the other. But, I mean, Maru just understanding the situation with great crisis control. That's something that is really important to look at. And I will look at, let's go back to right here, where both players are trying to do damage. I'm going to go to Maru's cam here. And even though he lost 25 SCVs, it still was okay, despite all of that. So let's see how Maru handles this attack, because it was the handling of both sides here for Maru that essentially put him in a position to win the game. Going for a third. His hotkeys, you can see the ground army, you have the medevac, the orbitals, and the production. But this is when things start to go sideways. Sees the stasis ward coming up. He's going to use the SCV, drops the medevac in, trying to do a dual prong here. He actually saw the pylon on the other side.
Add-on complete.
He baited out the stasis ward with the SCV. Adding on production. Looking to the main, looking to the nap. Production again. Sees that army. I'm surprised he's not sending anything to the pylon. Sees he's maybe losing the fight. Moves. He actually just moved his army in the middle of the map back without looking at it. 3 oracles coming in. He rallies out his SCVs. He's going to bring the SCVs down to the net. Already building a bunker. Brings what Marines and Marauders he does have down. Sees only 2 stalkers. Knows he can get damage done here. Targeting down. He's continually producing throughout this as well. Lock-on's taking out one of these oracles. The boys are pulled. Still handling this, trying to get whatever he can in the main, realizes the production is struggling. The drop is shut down, but prioritizing, making sure not all his SCVs die over here. He's able, look at his money throughout, I mean, when you're not mining, your money's pretty low. He has the XP, well that might be me, but the XP counter shows that that oracle went down. But wherever he was able to get damage or actually do a real defense, Maru was prioritizing it and making sure to produce throughout, because if he didn't get a few more units out during that, it could spiral out of control really easily. But just enough on every edge, and even though he's down 10 supply throughout this, it's the quality of his supply once again. It's that SOS only has gateways. It was a trend throughout the series that he didn't take these gas geysers, or take extra gas geysers. He's just focusing on sheer units, which is a very SOS way to do things, but it didn't pan out against Maru.